we have the ghost of Yankees past, George Steinbrenner, okay? He's haunting his two sons saying, get it done. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned they've not won the World Championship in 10 years, which is disgusting for the Yankees, considering that the Yankees are the most valuable team in Major League Baseball at $4.6 billion, okay? And again, get this. I mean, you got a small market team like the Kansas City Royals. They've won the World Series as the Yankees. So they had to get off of this money here and go for their, what people are calling their great white whale and Gerrit Cole.
But isn't this exactly the kind of contract that Brian Cashman, who's been the GM for more than 2 decades, the kind of thing that for years he was shying away from because the evidence suggests that there's no way, there's no history to suggest that this is a good investment. You might get a couple of good years. You might get something out of it the way they did with CC Sabathia 10 years ago. He won that World Series right at the beginning of that big deal. But this represents a shift in strategic thinking from Cashman, doesn't it? And Randy Levine and ownership.
Well, I mean, no doubt about it. And it's not about the spending the money part of it. It's about who do you spend the money on. Okay, I mean, let's go back in time. They spent the money on a guy named Reggie Jackson. I think that turned out pretty well. So it's all about that, how you allocate your funds.
I think that was $1.6 million, right, in 1977.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Right.
Just a little bit different.
So, I mean, here's the thing, too, right, Terence? I mean, the Yankees, they're worth so much. They are capable of spending this money, but ultimately, when they look at their balance sheet, and a few years from now, if Gerrit Cole doesn't work out, how are they going to approach things at that point?
Yeah, well, that's not only true with the Yankees. That's true with all these teams. I mean, if you look at what the Angels did here with, Rodon. I mean, this is Randon, rather. I mean, there's a whole lot of money to spend for one guy playing third base or any position for that matter when they've got the highest paid player in baseball on the same roster and Mike Trout. And what have the Angels done? Nothing, forever, okay? So again, we get back to what are you spending the money on and how strategically you're trying to fill out your roster.
$814 million for those 3 free agents last week, all clients of Scott Boras. And this is when we talk about baseball not being relevant in the national sports discussion, people not paying attention to the World Series, the All-Star Game not being a cultural event anymore. So how are we supposed to read this? There's all this money in the game. Players are getting rich. Teams have the money to spend it. But it's not like baseball. We don't talk about it, focus on it the way we once did. What does that say about the game and the health of the game?
Well, I mean, you got this contradiction going on here. Like you just said, Jeremy, baseball attendance have dropped every year for the last 12 years, okay? In spite of the fact this past year you had all those home runs, which supposedly brings people out to the ball games. But this is very simple what's going on here. It's the media rights fees, okay? It's a national television contract. The regional contracts, the local contracts, they're getting a bundle, these owners, okay? They got the money to spend just from that alone. And I want to talk about something about a guy that you and I both knew, Marvin Miller, was just elected to the Hall of Fame here recently, the legendary Players Association head. Marvin Miller once told me, and this was about 25, 30 years ago, that owners should be going to work wearing ski masks. And he couldn't understand, Marvin Miller, and neither could I, why the public always sides with the owners in these situations instead of the players. And like he pointed out, and I'll point out now, people think that just because player X or Y or Z doesn't get at whatever he's getting right now, that somehow it's going to help teachers' salaries, sanitation workers, factory workers. It's not going to do that. It's going to go back into the owners' pockets. So what we're seeing right now is that these owners really do have the money to spend, and at least some of them are spending it.
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, make sure you subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.